Eddie, we are recording again.
All right. We are recording. Okay. So episode 4 of the Brain Teasers.
Yeah.
Welcome. Today, I think we should talk about false memories and
Okay.
its implications.
Yeah, well, false memories is a great topic. I actually didn't know that Eddie was going to bring that up today. So it will be a surprise episode for me.
Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. Leah, do you want to tell me what you think false memory is or what you know about it?
And yeah, I know some stuff about false memories, but I can't really give you a precise definition. But I
Mhm.
would say that it is our tendency to recognize things in the wrong way sometimes. It's just like
Mhm.
to put it in simple words. Yeah, what it actually is. Tell us, Eddie.
Oh, okay. So yeah, all right. So I have a more exact definition for it.
Yeah.
So it's a quote unquote fabricated or distorted recollection of an event in our past, and the memories may be entirely false, somewhat false, imaginary, and they contain elements of a fact that's been distorted by interfering information or other memory distortions. So what that means is it's been affected by outside influences. So that could be something as a previous actual event that kind of leaked into a previous memory and kind of changed it. It could be something that a family member has said, which I'll go into later. There's like an exact example for that one. It's really cool, but it's just us not remembering things the way it actually was because we choose or we have been influenced to believe otherwise. And there's quite heavy implications and consequences of false memories today, and even in small levels. It's very present, like even with, like, for example, like let's say I'm like talking to a friend and I thought, all right, who ate that bubble gum? Like, I precisely remember Leo took my bubble gum. It was Leo, but he could remember it could have been my dog, and we don't really know who's right. Like that's like an example of false memory, how small it could be, um versus it could be in court and an eyewitness could be stating there, they could be stating standing there as a witness and claim that they saw this person kill this person, but their memory is completely false. So it's present everywhere, small to big, and I guess it's just something really interesting to talk about because you don't really know what you don't know if you it's your what you're talking about is a
Yeah.
false memory. It's like I know for a fact that it's 100% true, but it could be not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good topic introduction. I'm trying to think of any like false memories that I had that led to some bad consequences. I don't know if you have
Oh yeah,
any.
I
Do you
I
have?
have one.
Oh, you have one? Just
I
go
have
ahead
one.
because I'm
Okay,
still
so
trying to think about one.
all right, okay. While you think about one, okay. So basically, I don't even okay. So to this day, I don't actually know if this is true or not. We have varying
Okay.
opinions about this topic. And this incident actually, but so when I was really young,
Mhm.
I guess it's something trivial. It's not a big consequence. It's just something trivial. It made me it ruffled my feathers. However, so when I was very young, we left our house very early in the morning to get on a taxi. It was me and my family, my mom, dad, and my brother, and it was a regular like sedan car. It had it's a 5-seater, right? The driver, um, passenger, and then 3 in the back, or usually 2 in the back, but there's 3, you can fit 3.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was like a taxi driver, obviously, so he took the driver's seat,
Okay.
and my dad sat in the front like passenger seat, and it was my mom, me, and my brother in the back. And this was in the winter, and we were going to somewhere warm to escape the cold of the Northeast. However, so I remember specifically, personally, me being the youngest in the family, I sacrificed my heart and soul to so I sat in the middle seat. Okay. Oh no, you're kidding me.
Yeah. So I feel like some. Oh, now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Okay. All right. All right. So yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
So
Yeah.
um the car had heated seats on the 2 main seats in the back,
Okay.
right? And obviously the middle seat, it's like a little lump. There's no heated
Oh,
whatever
I
there,
see. I
right?
see. Okay.
So
Okay.
I remember saying to my brother, all right, I'll sit in the middle to sacrifice my warmth for you two. And I remember them sitting, my mom sitting on my left, my brother sitting on my right, and going to the airport like that. I remember that so clearly in my head.
Okay.
However, after we came back from our trip, we somehow it came up in conversation about how someone sacrifices whatever. I was like, oh, I remember sitting in the cold seat while you guys sat in your heated seats and blah blah blah. And both of them disagreed with me. They told me that my
What?
mother sat in the middle seat and I sat on the left. And this could be completely true, completely false. I don't know. I vividly remember me sitting in the middle. Maybe it was because I guess like a possible influence may be that like I wanted to be a very kind
Mhm.
soul and I wasn't. Who knows? But that
No.
was like the most vivid memory of a false memory that I could remember. They could be for them that they have the false memory because if you think about it, my mom does sacrifice. Like your parent must
Yeah.
sacrifice the most, and maybe that idea kind of is embedded in them,
Oh, I
and
see. I
that's how they
see. Yeah.
remember it. But
Hmm.
that's like the most vivid one for me.
That's a pretty cool one. I don't think I even have something like that. I was trying to think of something, but nothing just came up. So the thing is that, like, and it happens so often. Let's just discuss your situation, your thing, right?
Hmm.
So when some, like, most often when two people tell you, okay, we remember it this way, right?
Yeah,
They both, like, they would say, okay, you see, two people think it was this way, right?
majority.
So it
Yeah,
was probably this way, but indeed it was not. Like, sometimes it's
yeah.
just not. And like, sometimes you know how it happens. So for example, after this thing, like, if this thing just like came up in a conversation or something, right? Your
Hmm.
mom would bring it up and she would be like, oh, I like, your brother was sitting in that like cold seat. And then your brother, he would doubt it. Like, before, he would doubt it in his head, but when but when
Yeah,
but when your mom would tell him that he was sitting in the cold seat, he would be like, oh yeah, sure, I was actually there, because he doesn't like remember that clearly. And like, his memory would be like influenced by that. And that is
yeah.
just like, that's. And then they would both be like, oh, okay, I was like, your brother would tell you, oh, Eddie, like, I was sitting in that seat, just come on, I was the one. And then
Yeah,
your mom would tell you the same thing, and they would be like, oh, you see, two people are telling you the same thing, so it must be true. And that is like,
yeah.
that's like, I don't remember any like precise examples of that in my life, but that happened to me so much, like, so
Do you have a
much.
sibling? Oh yeah, you do have a
Yeah,
sibling.
I
And
do,
you
I
have
do have I do have a brother, and we, like, now we have pretty warmer relationships. But when we were younger, bro, you don't want to hear about it. It was hell. It was hell. We would have false memories all over the place.
same, same.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Same.
pretty
The thing
brutal.
you just mentioned, there's actually a real life. Okay, I guess that was a real life example, but there's another, more. I don't know. There's another example of that.
Okay,
So this article that I read, it was from this woman named Elizabeth Loftus. I'm not sure
okay, okay.
how you pronounce her last name, Loftus. I'm pretty sure, but she's a memory researcher,
Hmm.
and she's basically a contemporary psychologist, and she's acclaimed for her research in memory, and she does a lot in like eyewitness memory and like misinformation and the human memory and stuff like that. So she gave her personal example with memory that kind of led her to pursue this path. But it was during her 44th birthday. Her uncle told her that she found her mother's body floating in the pool after a
Oh
drowning
yeah, I know
accident.
that example. I do know that example.
Yeah, and then she, of course, she remembered very little of the incident
Yeah,
because it was so long ago. Um, and after her uncle told her that it was her that found her mother's body, the details came rushing back to her, and she remembered exactly how the event happened. And she was
yeah,
like, "Oh, she like walked out of the patio, saw her mom's body drowning, floating in the pool." But
yeah,
a few
yeah.
days later, she actually discovered that her uncle had got it wrong, and it was actually her aunt who discovered her mother after the drowning.
Whoa.
And that goes to show, like, she imagined this entire scenario in her head of her
Yeah.
walking out of the patio, seeing her mom's body floating in the pool, all because of a word from her uncle telling her that it was her. In reality, it was her aunt, and she just made that up from scratch and completely believed it, which goes to show how easily your mind can
It's
be molded into.
yeah, manipulated. Yeah.
Mhm.
And actually, yeah, so like, it was a pretty traumatic situation, right? Like, I imagine for them, right?
Yeah.
And in those traumatic situations, like, your memory is very, very flexible. Like,
Malleable.
it like, it is, yeah. And it can be like manipulated very easily. It's like it's a way for your mind to make it easier for you to rationalize it. You know what I mean? To make it like, to put it in an easier way for your mind to understand, because it's called cognitive dissonance, when like you have this like thought in your head that contradicts something like that you have like in your beliefs, or like your morals or whatever, moral principles.
Mm-hmm.
And when like you do something that contradicts those moral principles, morals, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
mind is trying to like rationalize it and make it easier for your mind to understand. So in some of those cases, your mind would be like, oh, I actually don't remember doing that, right? Like, because
Mm-hmm.
your mind would try to get rid of that distortion, would try to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling in your head that you are contradicting your morals, right? And I think in this situation, it is actually pretty applicable. And actually it goes on. There are more examples, right? So like, you know how in court there is this like there was this suspect procedure. I'm not sure. I don't have any like real info right now, like up to date info about those suspect things. But before, like, I don't know, like 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was like that. So imagine someone would convict like a murder, right? Commit a murder.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, like a guy would commit it like on a street, right? And there would be like some people who would see it, right? And then they would go to the police office and they would be like, okay, we saw I saw this murder like taking place, right? And then they would present them with some suspects. The police office would call those people who were like who saw the murder taking place, right? And they would put those like suspects in a romp for them, right? And and their goal would be to recognize them, and like
Mm-hmm.
all those people would look more or less the same. That's the aim of the police like thing, just to recognize the actual guy, right, who
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was some horrible statistics like that just popped up, that was revealed quite relatively how do I actually forgot the word, but it doesn't matter. It was like
Recently?
re- yes, you're right, the word is recent. Yes, I'm actually ashamed of that, but it's whatever. Yeah, and it was very recent that
Mm-hmm.
like a huge percentage of those like decisions made in the court based on those like on this suspect procedure were false, were like wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
bad. So imagine how many people went to prison for doing something bad because of those false memories. And people
Yeah.
would they wouldn't do it on purpose. Those people who would like who were evident of the murders, right? It wasn't their fault. It was fault of their mind, right?
Yeah.
It's
And they
like
believe it personally that
they
this is
actually
the
believe it.
right
They would
thing. Yeah.
believe it. And imagine like how crazy it is, because now I feel like in most places this procedure is canceled because there was one example. I don't remember anything about it. Just the situation that a guy was put in prison like 40 years ago for committing a murder, right? And like 20 years ago, he like he would become free, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because someone found evidence that it was not him, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So
Mm-hmm.
so a guy spent 20 years of his life, a normal guy who was not actually the murderer,
Mm-hmm.
spent 20 years in prison for doing nothing. And this is all because of false memories. So it
Yeah,
can actually,
definitely.
yeah, as you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, it can actually have some bad consequences and implications.
Yeah, and that ranges on a less serious of a note to convictions of false accusations of murder, rape, sexual
Yes.
assault, whatever it could be. There's the smaller things, that a little bit more innocent things. Um, there is this. So let's say, for example, a child had an egg salad for breakfast. Okay, that's weird, but if you have egg salads for breakfast, rethink that decision. However, um, there was this experiment in which the children had egg salads for breakfast, and the egg salads would eventually cause them to get sick later on. However, before they actually got sick, they had a lunch meal, and the lunch meal was anything. It ranged from a variety of things, such as spaghetti, to pretty much anything like a sandwich.
Yeah.
But this led these children to believe that it was this lunch meal that actually got them sick. And this actually formed long-term consequences in which these kids would avoid having that type of food because
Yes.
of a fake thing in which they believe my
Yeah.
spaghetti was bad. So they just don't eat spaghetti for the rest of their life, which is miserable because spaghetti is delicious. But I'd rather have spaghetti than egg salad.
Eddie, do you love spaghetti?
I love spaghetti.
I
Spaghetti,
love spaghetti.
pasta.
Spaghetti as like are the best. Just like yeah, they're just best.
Interesting. What do you call it?
Digression.
Interesting digression, yes. However, um, like this is kind of these false memories that you create as a child, that develop over time, lead kind of shape you as who you are as an adult in many circumstances. Many people create their living wills based off of false memories that they've created as a child. And I guess like I feel like it's a part of everybody's life, unless you have like photographic memory or like
Yeah.
really good memory, which is rare. But yeah, it's just like very present and
It is, yeah. And like you like that goes on and like people just we cannot really trust ourselves to the end. You know,
yeah.
sometimes like you just cannot trust yourself. You should double check everything. It's just so bad. And that goes on to say like that people are not perfect. If we would be perfect, right, we would all have photographic memories. We won't have any distortions. But that's what actually makes us humans. We're not perfect. You see,
And
we have
actually, yeah, exactly. And actually being aware of this idea is so
yes,
beneficial. It's
so
so
beneficial.
beneficial.
Yes, because people get so angry when they're being like, "Oh no, that actually happened this way. I clearly remember it." And then they would start arguing with you, and you just can't win that argument because they actually believe in it. What
Hmm.
like imagine when you believe in something. Imagine like, okay, you see this cap is blue, right?
That's not blue.
Eddie, what are you talking about? This bottle's cap is blue. Like
Okay.
I saw it was blue. It was blue,
Okay. All right. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
No, you should argue with me.
Oh, I'm supposed to argue with you? Okay. It's not
Yes,
blue. It's
yes.
purple.
I'm telling you, I just saw it. It was blue. It was blue. What are you talking about?
Maybe you like the color blue and you want it to be blue.
A very, very good thought, Eddie. A
Yeah,
very good thought.
exactly.
Yeah, so that's how it actually like occurs sometimes that like a guy like someone would see something in a particular way, in a particular color, right? But they maybe at that point of their life they were influenced by something to think that this thing is of particular color or something happened in this way and not that way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think we're going yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is again we've as you've shown like it's
Oh, I think my camera just stopped for no reason.
oh yep, there we go. We'll
Oh, what is going on? Why? Okay, don't play it with me like that.
while you try to fix your issue. Um I just wanted to talk about how time really influences false memories, and it's again Elizabeth Loftus, this contemporary psychologist, uh, really suggested that false memories form more readily when enough time has passed from this original memory and
Yeah,
since it's faded away. And eyewitness testimony, for example, the length of time between the incident and being interviewed about the event plays a role in how suggestible people are to false memory. And again, this leads to people accusing like people for um, falsely accusing people of crimes or choosing um, the wrong person for a specific crime that was committed. And if it's interviewed immediately after the event, the details are still vivid and people are less likely to be influenced by these distortions or misinformation. And which is why there's like a time limit, I believe,
yeah,
for
yeah.
an eyewitness to be entered into court.
Yeah, that Eddie, let me interrupt you for a second. Now, I think that now there is limit, but
Yeah.
before there was no limit because now people understand that there is this concept of false memories, right? And
Hmm.
they understand that people can go to prison for no reason,
Hmm.
go to prison for no reason. This is a good rhyme.
Prison and reason do not rhyme.
They do.
They do not rhyme.
Prison
Prison,
and reason.
reason. Prison,
Look,
reason.
reason,
Prison,
reason.
risen. It's not risen, it's reason.
Okay, Eddie, you're right.
Treason,
Let's
reason,
reason.
or
Yeah,
prison and risen. However,
whatever. Yeah,
on that topic, wait, what was I gonna say?
I'm sorry.
Now that you've got me off track, you try to get me to memorize prison and risen instead of prison and reason. So that was
That's how your memories can be influenced just by
no.
saying two simple words.
Had very, very, very. Oh, yeah. Completely out of topic. Well, not completely out of topic. Bloodhounds are the only animals that are admissible in court. Do you know
Are
what a bloodhound is?
not really.
It's a type of dog. It's like the old like English. I think it's English origin dog. It's like the dog with like the fluffy ear, like the
Oh yeah,
droopy
yeah, yeah.
ear,
I know
like
bloodhound. Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, I know.
yeah, like the hunting dogs. They're the
Yes.
only type of animals that are admissible in court. So they're the only animals that you can bring to court as like a legal thing.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
I don't know why. They just must be very dependable. I don't know, but they're the
What
only
do
animals.
they do?
I think I read this somewhere. Wait, let me give it a quick
Do
search.
they like recognize uh like in a better way than other dogs, or like well,
Yeah,
what
a
is that
trained bloodhound.
trained black blind? I thought, there is this like German dog, I think there is. I think they also have a pretty good memory. They can be trained as well. But it's like once again out of topic. But still, and what I also wanted to talk about, like when you just first brought up that false memory topic,
Uh-huh.
there's this thing with humans, like that we humans, we follow patterns. We like patterns because there is like so much information around us that if it wouldn't be structured in some way, right,
Hmm.
we would just go crazy because our mind cannot process that much information. So we like to see patterns in things. We like to, like, we have, that's why we have stereotypes, that's why we have biases, and that's partially why we have false memories. Remember, like when you brought up that thing about the food, right? So a
Hmm.
kid would eat an egg in the morning, then like get sick after the lunch, eating spaghetti for lunch, right? And then he would think that actually the reason for him like being sick was that spaghetti meal, but indeed it
Uh-huh.
was the egg in the morning. And the thing is that like people that like that's also about patterns. So like we want to attribute certain things to certain things, like it's like a event and a consequence, like we
Uh-huh.
ate something, there's a consequence to that, and that's how we learn. And that's like we learn in patterns, right? We learn to avoid things. You know how, like, imagine like you're cooking something, like you're cooking something on an oven, right? And for example, a little kid, he doesn't know that it's hot. He would touch it and then he would start crying. He would be like, oh damn, this is bad, this is hot. He wouldn't say it in this way, but that's just like
Like, oh damn, it's hot.
yeah, just like imagine like a little like 2-year-old kid being like, oh damn, that's hot, I shouldn't touch it. Yeah, that'd be cool, but that's not always the case. So the thing is that we like to follow patterns, and yeah, I just decided to bring that up because I feel like it's connected to the thing that you brought up with the food, your food example. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything like for us to talk about, like in false memories.
I mean,
Hmm.
the pattern thing. I mean, okay, so here's the thing with false memories, I think. Well, here's the thing with any topic that we discuss. There's so many different things that are that play a role in these topics. For example, for false memory, like so many different things can distort your memories. So many different things can lead to your memories being altered with or influenced in a specific way, and it's really impossible to like pinpoint a specific thing that causes it to switch like that. So in some cases you can, because it's very obvious. For example, for the uncle telling her it was that, like, sure, that's an influence from a family member, like, but it's
Sometimes
so
you can't even tell. Yeah, sometimes you can't even tell.
yeah, exactly. And I guarantee you that there's things that we believe to this day, like you and I personally, or anybody that's
No,
listening, that
for sure. Yes.
we believe something happened and it's just completely false. And it's just kind of really stressful because you think of all the, because once you are like you are educated on this topic of false memories and the like the vast grand possibility that you could be wrong, so many things you really think about the possibilities of an alternate reality, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
which it could have happened. It makes you think about things a lot more, and like let's say you like there is this example of a mother leaving her baby in the car because she remembered dropping off her baby at school, but it was actually
Yeah.
her husband at work. But like things like that, like the fact that you were aware of the topic makes you double think things and double
Yeah.
check things, and that could drive you crazy, but it's also a good thing, and it's very important that people are educated on this idea, even if not very like deeply, but just
Yeah,
aware.
for sure, you're right. And like coming back to your initial point that like all those things like that we're talking about in this podcast, right?
Hmm.
Uh, you like you don't really need to like know all those examples and stuff.
Hmm.
Just being
Yeah.
aware of the concept itself
Yeah.
makes you smarter, makes you more knowledgeable about things, makes you like look at life at a different angle. Because like the more concepts you know, the more you can like apply them to your own life. And that's
Hmm.
what we're trying to like bring to you guys to like to understand that there are some concepts that we're not aware of, and that's why we are like biased in a way. But being aware of a bias make you less biased, you know?
Don't worry about that. That was a fly. I sure you can see that in the screen. That really made me angry.
It's fine.
But
It's fine. You got him.
I don't know. He's gone, my guy.
It's
He
good.
flew away.
I mean, good that he's gone. Like,
He's
yeah.
alive. He's still alive. He almost died
I mean,
in my
you
hands.
don't want to kill like innocent insects, right?
It's not
Because
innocent. It was bothering our podcast, was it?
oh, okay. That's yeah, that's bad insect.
Guilty.
Yeah,
Guilty.
guilty for sure. Yeah,
Well, yeah, and yeah, like exactly like Leo said, I repeat those words. I think that's kind of like a main reason why I feel like both of us are interested in psychology, because like more like personal reflection and like personal benefit. I think it's really good to know what is going on, because so many
yeah.
people live in ignorance, and ignorance is bliss. I tell you that
Ignorance
much.
is
It's so
bliss. Yeah,
nice.
for sure.
I don't know a lot of things still. We both don't know a lot of things still, but um, just like knowing it, even like a tiny bit, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And you begin to like connect things. Like you see
Yeah,
like something happen in real life, and you're like, oh, like that's we learned that last time, and whatever. It's like
yeah. That's
it
amazing.
feels good. It feels good.
It actually does feel good. Yeah,
Hmm.
because like your neurons are being connected.
Yeah, just like bridges.
Yes, yes, yes. But
All
actually,
right.
I like let's talk about this for a little because I actually find it very important. Like when you just mentioned that feeling when you learn something new and then you
Hmm.
apply it and then you apply it like in your real life and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm smart. Like, oh, I can actually apply that. That actually works. That's not just like some integral equation that I'm not gonna ever apply in
Yeah.
in my life. It's just like it's real, and that's why I love
Yeah.
psychology. Don't get me wrong, I love math. I love math. I'm super interested in math, and I think it like develops your mind in a way that like no other science or any subject develops. But you like, let's be real. It's not gonna be like useful to you unless you're gonna become like some real scientist or
An
a
engineer or
teacher, right?
something. Yeah.
It's not gonna benefit you unless just like
Hmm.
that. But psychology, on the other hand, when you learn psychology or when you learn, I mean, like psychology is one of the most interesting ones. When you learn psychology, you can actually apply it
Yeah.
right away. And that's why, like, yeah, that's what I love about psychology. Eddie,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of some more things to talk about, but
I think,
I
yeah, I
feel like
think that's a good place to end it off.
yeah, that
A
is
nice little a nice little teaser into the realm of false memories and memory. Memory is a really vast topic, and there's a lot we can talk about for memory in the future. But
yeah,
for now, I think that's where we'll leave it off. It was a
yeah.
pleasure discussing this topic with you.
Okay.
We may not have been ready for this, but I mean, you definitely weren't, because you didn't even know what we're talking about in the beginning. But
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's
it's
good discussion, guys.
good discussion, guys.
All right, I'll see you guys next time, next week.
Yeah. See you.
Um, yeah,
We'll try to record on every Monday and maybe
yeah.
release every Wednesday, Thursday. Like we might have some technical issues sometimes, but we'll try to release like every episode, like an episode every week on Wednesday,
Mhm.
Thursday. Yeah.
All
So
right,
thank you guys. Follow
all
us
right.
on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, we'll be uploading to Spotify and iTunes quite soon.
Yeah.
So you guys don't want to look at our ugly faces, we can
Yeah,
you guys can just listen to
the
our
audio.
amazing voices
Yeah.
in the future.
All right. Thank you guys.
See you guys.
Goodbye.